Welcome back, Builders Red, to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. What I have here today is a simple 2-wide tileable Shulkerbox loader. And what makes this 2-wide tileable Shulkerbox loader special is the fact that it's 2-wide tileable and works at 4 times hopper speed per slice. This is ideal anytime you have a large sorter or farm that produces a large quantity of the same type of item. That's when you're going to want a loader like this. This loader is not in replace of the sorter itself. You're going to need to build a sorter to sort out all the items at either 4 times hopper speed or at 4 of an individual item sorter feed into one of these, and then from here it's going to take all those items and put it into one Shulkerbox. How it works is pretty simple. Whether you have like a chest boat up here at the top sitting over top of 4 hoppers, or you have a chest or a hopper minecart, or you just have double chest, any of those methods will work in distributing all the items between either 2 or all 4 of these hoppers. So whenever that happens, all those items are going to be fed down between the 4 hoppers, evenly distributed into 2 different droppers. The reason we are doing this and feeding all the items into droppers before feeding them into shulker boxes is by using a really fast clock like this. We're basically able to make a dropper work 2 times as fast as a single hopper. A single hopper can only transport around 2.5 items per second, and using this decay clock, if I simply turn it on and then throw a bunch of items in this minecart chest up here, you can hear the clicking noises stop, and that's because there's items in this dropper for it to actually dispense. And you can see that the dropper is working just barely faster than 5 items per second, because there's 2 hoppers going into each dropper. So every second, 5 items are entering this dropper, and you can see every second, 5 items are leaving this dropper. That is extremely important. And you can see right there, all 4 stacks that I fed into this minecart chest are completely gone, and all those have been fed directly into that shulker box. Now, the nice thing about this system is it doesn't matter how many or if you have more of these stacked right up against each other. Each one of these systems work independently, and they all work off of one timer. So it is very lag resistant and friendly in the sense that there is only one decay clock that's ever functioning. You got one right here at the very beginning. And then this one singular decay clock is feeding every single one of your different Shulkerbox loaders. The only downside to that is basically anytime any individual Shulkerbox is completely full, the system is going to have to temporarily pause the timer, but that only does it for 2 or 3 seconds, which means that there might be a little bit of buildup of items in this dropper. Now, the redstone behind how this Shulkerbox loader is able to be so compact yet so fast is due to barrels. Barrels are basically a storage container that is also a solid block, so you're able to send a redstone signal through it. So you see you have a comparator here that's of course detecting the items in the barrel, but it is also turning off this redstone torch. And this way we are able to use subtraction mode. So basically whenever that Shulkerbox is completely full, it will give a redstone signal of 15, and since we're subtracting, 15 minus 15 is 0, so that will turn off or allow this redstone torch to turn on, and that will activate all your systems to reset, get a new Shulkerbox in there, and to break the pre-existing one. Using this method of the barrels as the container value and the solid block for redstone signal to be sent through, I've used it in the past in some of my past builds, but I have seen Etho use it in some of his more recent videos when he was building his own Shulkerbox loaders, and that kind of gave me the idea I should implement it in another Shulkerbox loader design, because it really does make it that much more compact and smaller. Shulkerbox loaders, of course, need Shulkerboxes to be fed back in the system, and because of that, I want to make sure there was only one input for all the Shulkerboxes, regardless of how many of these systems you built. That's why we got a rail line right here on the right side, and this is for all our Shulkerboxes. They can all be fed by this hopper minecart down into each one of these, and this way each slice is never holding more than 15 Shulkerboxes in each one. So that simply makes sure that each slice doesn't use more than 15 Shulkerboxes. That way, if for example this is at a raid farm and you're mainly dealing with emeralds, you're not having half your Shulkerboxes being held up in the redstone chest. This will instead just make sure that wherever the Shulkerboxes are needed, they're always distributed there. Now, like normal, material list and world download are in the description like normal, and if you want to know the actual size for the build, well, we can count it out real quick. The entire length is 7 blocks, and the width of the entire thing is going to be 2 blocks. But the very first one, since we're counting the actual decay clock that's going to be powering each individual slice past it, is going to be a 2-block wide ordeal. So you got to make sure that your very first one, you have basically a 7 long, 4 wide area that needs to be at least 6 blocks tall. And this 6 blocks tall is coming from wherever your sorter or all the items are coming from. you do need to make sure you sort out all the items ahead of time. If you don't do that, then the shulker boxes will never get completely full, because that shulker box would never give a redstone signal strength of 15. That would cause the system to never actually break the shulker box and all the items to get backlogged. So you got to make sure that this shulker box loader is only coming out of either a stream where there's only one type of item, or it's coming from a stream that's already been sorted. So if you have like a large sorting system above this, that would work just fine. So once you have an area cleared out for the system, I'm going to go ahead and go to one of your back corners, and this is basically wherever your hoppers are going to be that are facing into the system. Now we're going to basically come up 5 blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make a square, and this is where the input hoppers are going to be. So from here, this is where you are actually coming out of your sorting system, or where all the items are coming from. If you have just like a single hopper line feeding into it, then just have like a chest boat, or have a couple double chests like this, and just have hoppers feeding into those double chests. Now from here, we are simply going to figure out where we want our shulker box. So I'm going to make sure my shulker box is right here. So I'm going to need to have a piston right here, that way that can break the shulker box. And I need 2 droppers. I'm going to have one facing down and then one facing in right here. And these 2 droppers are going to face into where the shulker box is going to be, and that's going to dispense all the items. Now we want each of these 2 droppers to have 2 hopper inputs. So we got 1 hopper input here. So you need 1 hopper to the side to have 2 hoppers facing directly into this dropper. Then come to the back side, we can have 2 hoppers facing into this dropper. And then there's a 1 block gap here. So you can go ahead and have another downward facing hopper, or if you want to save resources, you can use like a dropper or a chest or something. Once you got this all set up, you're going to want to have a dispenser facing straight up here. This dispenser is going to be placing the shulker box right there. Now, whenever the shulker box is placed and then of course broken, that shulker box is going to come right out here to this side, and then we're going to simply have a double chest right here, and then we'll have a hopper going to that double chest. Now, basically, if we remove this block here, we got a simple, the shulker box gets here, all the items are placed, and then when it's broken, it goes in this hopper and into this chest. This is our output chest. You can, of course, break this, move this wherever you want, but I'm just going to leave it right here to begin with. Now, the other things I'm going to need is going into this dispenser. I'm going to need to have 1 more dropper coming right on into the side like that. So now we've actually placed in all the droppers and hoppers for one individual slice. So now we're going to put the redstone for this slice. We're going to come straight down, and then underneath where we have our upward facing dispenser, you're going to want to have a solid block there, come out to the side. Here you're going to want to have a repeater on 2 ticks, have another block, and have another repeater here on 2 ticks. Then you're going to have another block right here, go ahead and have another repeater on 2 ticks. Then you have a bit of redstone dust right there, come out to 1 block, have a block up right there, and have 2 redstone torches like this with a redstone dust right on top. And if you haven't already, you can break these 2 temporary blocks like that. Come around to the other side, we can go ahead and put a redstone torch in right here. From here, you're going to want to have a solid block right off the back side of this redstone torch. You can have a redstone torch on the side of that, come up 1 block, have another redstone torch. Then we're going to come right over here to the side. You can have a temporary block, and you're going to need a barrel right here. And then you're going to come out 1 more block and have another barrel right here. Now, in each of these barrels, you need to have 27 different non-stackable items. Now, they can be the same non-stackable items. So, for example, I got 27 wooden shovels. Basically, it needs to fill every single slot. If I use, for example, a redstone torch instead of a non-stackable item, I would need to have 64 of that redstone torch in each one of these slots. The reason to that is we need this barrel to have a redstone signal strength of 15. And you're going to need to have one of these barrels full for each one of your different Shulkerbox loaders. If you're only building one of these, then you don't need this second one here. You can replace it with a solid block. But I'm going to show how to build more than one, so I'm going to have a barrel here that's also completely full. Now, off the side of this barrel, I'm going to have a redstone torch right there. And then I'm going to have a solid block right here. Here, I'm going to have a comparator. This comparator is going to be on subtract mode. And then I'm going to have another comparator right here, right on top of that hopper. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 glass blocks right here on top of the chest. These can be solid blocks, but it's nice being able to open the chest and, of course, see that shulker box. But this is only something you're going to be able to do for the very first one. Then you're going to need a solid block next to this dropper and a solid block next to this dropper and 2 bits of redstone dust on each of those. You're going to have a solid block right on top of this redstone torch. And then you need a repeater right here on 2 ticks. Now, at this point, we got almost all the redstone in. The last bit is to put the timer in. Now, the timer is going to affect one other part of the system, so the first one is going to be slightly different than all the ones after it. All the ones are going to have the same beginning steps, just like previously shown. Now, how we're going to go from here is basically we're going to have a solid block right here, have a bit of redstone dust, have an upper slab right here, and have redstone dust on that. Then you're going to come 2 blocks right here, and you're going to have a repeater here on 4 ticks and a bit of redstone dust. Right here, this block is where we need our timer to go in. So whether you have the timer coming in from the side or you want the timer straight out like this, you're just going to simply need 1 comparator on subtract mode, come back 2 blocks, and have 2 bits of redstone dust. Then you're simply going to need to make sure that there is a glass block here, and then solid block, and 2 bits of redstone dust with a lever right there. The reason there's a glass block there is to make sure we don't accidentally power this piston. Now, this redstone line, you can hook up to anywhere. You could have it hooked up to the beginning or the on-off switch to your sorting system or the on and off switch to your farm. Both those methods would work well. Also, from the switch is where you can easily hook up a rail line and have a rail line back here that simply distributes all the different shulker boxes. But that you can work on later. Now, basically, whenever you turn this lever on, that's going to start flashing all this, and you should hear a bunch of clicking noises. That clicking noises is these droppers trying to dispense items that they don't have into the shulker box below that, of course, is not there yet. In order to actually prime the system, there's a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need, of course, shulker boxes. I got a whole bunch of shulker boxes here, which yours can be completely empty, but just for the demonstration of this video, it's easier to show what happens when the shulker box is filling up completely. How you're going to do this is basically from where your input chest for your shulker boxes are, you're going to want to input a chest full of your different shulker boxes. If you're going to build more than one of these, you can hold off on this step until the very end. That's going to put all your shulker boxes into this first dropper, into this hopper, but your dispenser should remain empty like this. Then all you're going to have to do is come around to the back side, have a temporary button right here and press it once. That should break and then place in your first shulker box. And then if I'm just to simulate a bunch of items flowing into the system and turn it on, we should see that shulker box fill up completely. And then when it's filled up, it should be broken and a new one should be placed. And that completely full shulker box should end up in this chest. So that is really the gist on how to build one of these. If you're going to build more than one of these, the process is the exact same, except when it comes to this very top bit, because of course you don't have to build another timer. All the timers work together, so the redstone can be simplified just a little bit. The really only difference is, of course, you need to connect all the different systems together. So that's going to mean you're going to need to come and connect this hopper line together, because you're not just going to have one hopper going into a block. That would make no sense. This is our output. This is where all our broken shulker boxes are going to end up. We need to connect this hopper line with the other hopper line right here. And don't worry that it's a solid block above it. This redstone line is going to be flashing on and off so often that it's going to allow the shulker boxes to pass under it very quickly. And all those items will again end up into this double chest over here. Now also with this, you're again going to have this same comparator set up right here that with 1 comparator on subtract mode. If this is your final slice, you can just go ahead and have a solid block right there. But if this is not your final slice and you're going to have another one after this, then it's going to be the same sort of deal. You need to make sure to have a barrel with 27 different non-stackable items in it. And of course, redstone torch on the side of that. Now, when building up the rest from here, it's going to be slightly different. You're still going to have a solid block with each of those 2 droppers with redstone dust on top. And this redstone dust line should connect to the other previous redstone dust line. Then you're going to want to simply come out 1 block, have a redstone dust right on top of that. Then it's going to come down 1. And here you're going to need to have a repeater on 4 ticks. Then you're going to have a block right to the side on top of that redstone torch, and have a repeater right here on 2 ticks. This simple top circuit that we have right here is what's going to be repeated for every single slice after this. This very first slice is only 3 wide and has this slab, and that's only because we have this timer to deal with, and I did some other redstone magic to make sure that the system works reliably. Now, one thing to note, because we are using a decay clock, when this decay clock runs out of redstone signal strength, which means in distance, since the redstone signal strength that's being inputted is only 14, after 14 blocks, then of course, the redstone dust won't light up anymore, it won't fire the droppers. This means that basically every 6 or so different slices that you have right up against each other, you're going to need a 1 block gap between the next one, between the 6th and the 7th slice. That way you can have a repeater here on 1 tick. If you don't do this, then the back couple slices won't actually, the redstone dust or redstone line won't actually turn on and off with the first part because the decay clock doesn't have enough power to reach it. This is only really a deal if you have more than like 6 of these sliced up right next to each other. Here I only have 3, so that'd be double this, then you're going to need a 1 block gap, and then you could put double it again, and then another 1 block gap. It really just depends on how big or how massive of a system you are building. Now, if you build a lot of these right next to each other, then you probably don't want to just have an input chest that's inputting all the different shulker boxes. So instead, the easier method would be to use rails, powered rail right at the very beginning, and bring that all the way back to another powered rail right here at the end. You can use like a redstone torch or something to permanently power that rail, and then all you're going to need is like a hopper minecart or a chest minecart right here with a double chest right on top of it. That can be full of all your different shulker boxes. This way, whenever your system turns on, this hopper minecart is going to go back and forth, and that's going to evenly distribute all your shulker boxes between the first to the last of your different shulker box loaders. And it's a lot cheaper and easier to do it this way than to have like a chest that you're constantly refilling over every single one of them. But that is really all there is to it. If you guys have any other questions or comments, of course, let me know down in the comment section below. But this has been Rock Builder, and I'll see you all in the next video.